Here's tonight's warped Did You Know, courtesy of the Democrat Party. Now, did you know that socialism is one of the bedrock principles of the Bible? Well, here's frequent MSNBC and Reverend William Barber at the DNC summer meeting. MSNBC contributor, that is.
If someone calls it socialism, then we must compel them to acknowledge that the Bible must then promote socialism. Because Jesus offered free health care to everyone, and he never charged a leper a copay. It's time for us to say, if you want to have a moral debate, bring it on, baby.
Ralph Reed, chairman of the Faith and Freedom Coalition, takes that challenge. All right, Ralph. He said, bring it on, baby. You know, what is, why is this dangerous to interpret the Bible this way? It's about helping each other and putting your neighbor first. And that does mean big government, doesn't it, Ralph? So now the Pete Buttigieg and Reverend Barber and, you know, they're all pushing this Christian message that really redounds to bigger government.
Well, you know, they're sort of emerging from the shock and the awe and the fog, Laura, of 2016, where they lost the evangelical vote by 65 points. They lost the Catholic vote by 10 points. They lost faithful, frequently mass-attending Catholics by 24 points. And they've kind of belatedly realized that if their party kicks voters of faith in the teeth and calls them irredeemable and essentially says they're deplorables, that those people might not be drawn to them. So now they're struggling for this religious language and this religious connection. And what we get is this portrayal of Jesus Christ as a Birkenstock-wearing socialist. And we're told that the Bible is sort of a religious communist manifesto. And I don't think this is going to sell in the heartland, because the good news is Christians in America know their Bible, and they know that the Bible teaches that he who does not work shall not eat. It talks about the importance of work, and it talks about the importance of being productive, and it teaches the principle of subsidiarity, which, yes, we're called to care for the poor and the needy and the infirm and the alien and the stranger, but that call is to the faithful. It calls to those closest to the need to meet that need, not big government, not bureaucrats in Washington. Well, Mayor Pete, as I mentioned, like, he is making his own concerted effort to win over the evangelicals. And right. You know, the Catholic vote, I think it's gotten a little bit wobbly since 2016, frankly. And he told the AP this yesterday. He said, my goal is for people of faith who believe that it has some implications for how they participate in politics to be aware that they have choices. I want people to know that when I say I'm guided by some of these ideas, it's not something I seek to impose on anyone else, but I do want people to know that's part of my formation, part of how I come at the world. This sounds like a bad homily from a liberal priest from, like, this, you know, came up through the 60s and 70s. I love my church, but I've sat through some bad homilies. That sounds a little loosey-goosey to me. But, Ralph, your thoughts on that? Well, I'm still waiting for one of these, whether it's the Reverend Barber or Mayor Pete, to give us the scripture verse that justifies late-term abortion and infanticide. And he said some. Yeah, some ideas. So I think here's what I think people are hungering for. I think they're hungering for leaders who can make a connection between their faith and their values and public policy. They're not looking for somebody to argue that Christianity is a partisan faith or represents one side or the other. But when it comes to the sanctity of life and religious freedom and support for Israel and the protection of the least among us and speaking out for the poor and meeting their needs, it's a question of what is most effective, what's most efficacious, and what's closest to those in needs. And big government is the last one that will do that. We've seen what big government did in Chicago, St. Louis, all these cities, Baltimore. We've seen Venezuela. What big government has done. And, Venezuela, and now we know
what's
what
happening
socialism
in Europe.
does.
All right, Ralph, thank you very much.